Hi folks, I invited my patrons at patreon.com/StephenCrone to ask me some questions recently. The first one is from Martin, who writes, "Hi Stephen, I still can't move from painting a tight painting to loose paintings. Not sure if it's a confidence issue with loose painting or I'm combining two techniques. I think one of the issues with painting loose, and certainly I've something that I've had issues with, is I try and make the painting, the watercolour, look too much like the reference photograph, and so I often end up with a tight painting with too much focus on the reference and not enough focus on my imagination and letting my sort of inner thoughts and concepts come out in the painting, be more expressive. I think loose painting is all about bringing, you can see something in your mind. You look at the reference photograph and you can see in your mind what you want to do, just pick out the main elements. When we try and paint it, we're just constantly looking at the reference and we end up just making it look like the photograph rather than bring out what we've our original thoughts and ideas. And it is very, very difficult because the instinctive thing to do is to make it look too much like the photo and paint tight. A tool I've started using in the last 12 months is a water spray. I bought it off eBay. It's like a hairdresser's thing. There's a link to it. You'll see a link in the description to all my videos, all the materials, and you'll see it written down there. And so what I try and do, if the painting I consider it to be too tight and not loose enough, I'll give it a light spray with the water, and what that does is it just loosens up the paint slightly. It may even start to just very, very slowly, because I've got the paper at 90 degrees, it may even start to just sink very, very slowly, but that's what I'm looking for. It just loosens the whole thing up. And then what I'll do, I'll add more washes or more detail over the top of that as like a sort of an additional layer, and it sort of just loosens the whole thing up. So if you're having trouble painting loose, I think it's the easiest thing to start doing, really. Just give it dry it first. That's something I forgot to mention. Make sure you dry it, because what that does is fix in position what you've already done. If you're just wetting it on top of wet paint already, you're just moving wet paint all over the paper. You need to do your first initial draft, so to speak, dry it with a hairdryer or just wait for it to dry naturally, and then put another wash over the top of it and just build it up in layers, and you'll find it just loosens up naturally over time. And I think what you'll find eventually is, as you get more experience painting loose, the need to re-wet or sort of go, you'll sort of get it right first time, so to speak. So painting loose, it is very much a case of, like with everything really, just practice, 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 and eventually it'll just start to come together. I think the first thing to sort of train your brain to do is, if you find an element, I don't know, you're painting a tree, just have a quick look at the reference, but then what I find is use the biggest brushes that you can, and don't think about painting the exact shape of a tree. You're just looking for something to represent the tree in the painting. So any sort of loose abstract marks that look roughly like a tree will do the job, because what you'll find is that your eye will fill a lot of it in. You can paint things a lot looser than what you realise, because your imagination will fill in a lot of the blanks. Don't fall into the trap like I do often, to think you've got to paint this and you've got to paint every little element and every little bit of detail so that the viewer can understand what it is they're looking at, because it doesn't need all that detail. All you need is just the basic main shapes. Just focus on the main shapes and the contrasts, and the viewer's eye will do the rest. And you'll find you can paint things a lot more loosely and more abstract than what you realise, and you still end up with a decent looking painting. So Martin, I hope that's answered your question a little, or at least put you on the sort of path to painting in that way. But do let me know thoughts and comments and ideas in the description below, and I'll see you in the next video.